America runs on plastic. Not the kind in your takeout container, the kind in your wallet. Credit cards aren't just a way to pay in the US, they're a lifestyle. From morning coffee to medical bills, everything slides through a piece of plastic that promises freedom but quietly breeds dependence. Nearly 80% of Americans have at least one credit card, and many have more than four. For millions, it's not extra spending power, it's survival on borrowed time. It's strange, isn't it? In a country that celebrates independence, most people live in debt. And not the kind of debt you can see mortgages, student loans, but revolving, invisible debt that keeps people swiping month after month. The credit card industry has mastered the art of seduction. It sells convenience, status, and control, but delivers the opposite. Every reward point and cashback bonus hides an interest rate waiting to pounce. Every glossy ad about financial freedom quietly normalizes dependency. But here's the thing. Americans aren't addicted to credit cards because they're irresponsible. They're addicted because the system leaves them no choice. Wages haven't kept up, emergencies are expensive, and savings are rare. When cash runs out, credit becomes oxygen. In this video, we'll uncover how America built an economy that depends on debt, why the credit card industry profits most when you lose, and how borrowing became not just a habit, but an identity. Because in the US, credit isn't just money you don't have, it's proof that you exist in the system. When credit cards were first introduced, they were marketed as symbols of freedom. No more carrying cash, no more waiting, just swipe, sign, and go. It felt modern, sophisticated, and empowering. The future of money, but behind that shiny promise was a quiet trap. Credit cards didn't free people, they trained them. The goal wasn't to make life easier, it was to make spending effortless. Because the easier it is to spend, the harder it becomes to stop. Psychologists call it spending separation. When you pay with cash, you feel the loss of a physical exchange that triggers restraint. But when you swipe a card, that pain disappears. You're not spending money, you're pressing buttons. It's abstract, invisible, and that's exactly what banks want. Then came the rewards: air miles, points, cashback. These tiny psychological bribes make you feel like you're winning, even as you're sinking deeper into debt. You start telling yourself, I'm not spending, I'm earning rewards. It's the oldest trick in behavioral economics. Turn spending into a game. And once you're hooked, the system adjusts. Miss a payment? Late fees. Carry a balance? High interest. Need more credit? They'll reward your loyalty with a higher limit so you can go deeper without noticing. It's not an accident that credit card debt in America keeps hitting record highs. The system is designed to blur the line between borrowing and buying, between control and dependency. Because credit cards don't sell convenience, they sell permission. Permission to feel rich for a moment, even if you'll pay for it forever. But it's not just psychology, it's structure. The entire credit system is built to keep Americans borrowing, not balancing. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Banks don't want you to pay off your credit card, they want you to almost pay it off. Because that's where the real money is: interest, fees, penalties. The longer you owe, the richer they get. Credit card companies make billions every year, not from people who pay on time, but from the ones who don't, the revolvers. That's the industry term for customers who carry a balance month to month. They're not punished, they're prized. Think about it. If everyone paid their balance in full, credit card companies would collapse overnight. Rewards programs, cashback, no annual fee. Offers all of that is funded by interest from people trapped in debt. The system only works if enough people lose. And it's rigged beautifully. Most cards charge 20% interest or higher, far more than any traditional loan. But because the payments are small and spread out, it doesn't feel painful. You pay $100, feel responsible, and the balance barely moves. That's not debt reduction, it's debt maintenance. Even the way statements are designed manipulates behavior. The minimum payment looks harmless, a small, friendly number that says, you're fine. But it's a trap. If you only pay the minimum, a $1,000 purchase could take decades to clear. And that's the point. Banks aren't financial institutions anymore, they're psychological ones. They've turned human impatience into profit and financial literacy into dependency. And here's the twist. The more responsible you seem, the more credit they give you. Higher limits, new offers, pre-approved upgrades. It feels like trust, it's really a leash. But this addiction didn't just grow out of greed, it grew out of need. Because in modern America, credit cards aren't luxury anymore, they're lifelines. There was a time when having a credit card meant you'd made it. It was a symbol of success, shiny proof that a bank trusted you. But today, it's not a sign of wealth. It's a sign you're trying to survive. In modern America, credit cards are no longer for luxuries. They're for groceries, gas, rent, and medical bills. Everyday essentials that used to be covered by income are now paid for with borrowed money. Nearly half of Americans use credit just to make ends meet, not to live large, but to live normally. And that's not by accident. The system is built on the assumption that wages won't stretch far enough. Prices rise, bills multiply, emergencies happen, but your paycheck doesn't change. So you swipe. Not because you're careless, but because the alternative is worse. Medical debt alone is a huge driver. One unexpected hospital visit can cost thousands. Insurance rarely covers everything, so people turn to plastic. Groceries? Food inflation means families use credit just to eat. Even rent payments, something that used to be sacredly cash, can now be charged, with convenience fees attached. It's easy to call this financial mismanagement. It's really financial desperation. The credit card becomes a bridge between paychecks, a silent companion in the modern American struggle. And here's where it gets darker that dependence is profitable. The more people rely on credit to survive, the more the economy grows. Spending drives GDP. Borrowing drives spending. It's a cycle that keeps the system alive but keeps people trapped. So yes, Americans are addicted to credit cards. But it's not a moral weakness, it's structural necessity. And the system doesn't just make people dependent, it punishes them for it too. Here's the biggest irony in America's financial system. To be creditworthy, you have to be in debt. Think about that. Your credit score, the number that decides if you can rent an apartment, buy a car, or get a mortgage, isn't a measure of financial health. It's a measure of how good you are at managing debt. If you've never borrowed money, the system doesn't trust you. No credit history, no access. It's backwards. Pay everything in cash and live responsibly, you're invisible. Carry a balance, pay interest, and make just enough of your payments on time? Congratulations, you're responsible. The system rewards participation, not prudence. And it's not just banks using your score anymore. Employers, landlords, and even insurance companies check it. Your worth as a citizen is now partly defined by your relationship with debt. That's not financial freedom, that's behavioral conditioning. What's worse, the score itself is intentionally vague. It feels scientific, but it's built to keep you guessing. Pay off your balance early? Your score might drop. Close an old card, another drop. The rules keep changing, but one rule stays the same. Keep the accounts open, keep them active, keep them profitable. It's a loyalty program for debt, and just like a casino, the house always wins. Because the longer you stay in the game, the more they make, even if you win. For millions of Americans, the credit score isn't empowerment, it's surveillance. It dictates your housing, your job, even your peace of mind. And the cruel part? You can't opt out. Living without credit means living without access. But this system didn't just evolve naturally, it was engineered. And it changed how Americans think about identity, trust, and success itself. In America, debt isn't shameful anymore, it's normal. In fact, it's practically patriotic. You're expected to borrow for college, for a house, for a car, for everything. It's how you build a life. And over time, that became identity. You graduate with student loans, that's adulthood. You buy a house with a mortgage, that's success. You get a credit card, a car payment, maybe a personal loan, that's stability. The more debt you carry, the more established you seem. It's wild when you think about it. The things that used to symbolize freedom now symbolize ownership by the system. A perfect credit score doesn't mean you're free. It means you're deeply entangled but disciplined enough not to default. The ideal citizen isn't debt-free, it's debt-managed. This mindset didn't appear by accident. It was built by decades of marketing that tied credit to character. Banks sold borrowing as a sign of trustworthiness. You deserve this. You've earned it. Buy now, live better. It wasn't just advertising, it was psychological engineering. And it worked. People stopped seeing debt as a burden and started seeing it as a badge. The luxury car, the gold card, the new home all became markers of belonging. You're not just buying things, you're buying status. But here's the paradox. That illusion of success keeps people chained to the system. You can't slow down because your lifestyle, your dream is financed. You're not working to build wealth, you're working to maintain the image of it. So debt isn't just financial, it's cultural. It defines identity, status, even self-worth. And that identity trap is exactly what keeps the entire economy afloat, because when you believe debt is success, you'll never stop borrowing. The American economy isn't just built on spending, it's built on respending. Debt isn't meant to be paid off, it's meant to be recycled. Here's how the cycle works. You start with one credit card. You build a balance. Interest kicks in, so you open another card to transfer the debt. That helps for a while until that balance grows too. Then you consolidate, maybe take a personal loan, then a car payment, a mortgage, a line of credit. Round and round it goes, a lifetime of paying, transferring, refinancing, repeating. Banks call this credit growth, but what it really means is debt dependence. The system needs you to keep borrowing not just to survive, but to function. Every loan becomes someone else's income stream. Every swipe fuels another layer of profit. If Americans suddenly stopped using credit, the economy would collapse overnight. Even the language is deceptive. Credit sounds noble, empowering like something you earned, but it's really a clever rebrand for debt. You don't have credit, you owe credit. And you're rewarded not for freedom, but for compliance. And the system keeps the pressure on. Interest rates climb, prices rise. Wages lag, you can't save, so you borrow. You can't pay it off, so you refinance. Every solution becomes another problem that earns someone else money. What's worse, debt is now baked into major life events: college, housing, healthcare. You can't participate in the American dream without borrowing to do it. And when the dream itself is financed, freedom becomes a subscription. That's the cycle, and breaking it isn't just hard, it's revolutionary. Because if Americans stopped borrowing, they'd stop feeding the very system designed to keep them tired, busy, and paying. And that's the cruel beauty of it, because for most people, credit cards don't just shape their finances, they shape their entire future. Debt used to be a temporary condition. You borrowed, you paid, you moved on. But in modern America, debt has become permanent, not a phase, but a way of life. Credit cards are now woven into the DNA of the economy. You need them to build your credit, rent an apartment, buy a car, even book a hotel room. Living without credit in America isn't financial discipline, it's social exile. You can't function outside the system that profits from your participation. And that's the scary part. Credit isn't just money anymore, it's identity, it's access. It's how companies, banks, and even the government measure trust. Your entire existence is scored, tracked, and monetized. Every purchase paints a picture of who you are, not as a person, but as a consumer. In this future, debt isn't failure, it's fuel. The economy depends on people staying just solvent enough to keep spending. You're not supposed to be debt-free. You're supposed to be managing it forever, juggling balances, chasing points, refinancing your way through adulthood. The message is simple: keep swiping, keep believing, keep owing. Because as long as you're in debt, you're in the system. And yet most Americans know the truth deep down. They feel the anxiety every time they check their balance, the guilt of buying what they can't afford, the fear of losing it all with one missed paycheck. But the system numbs that fear with convenience and rewards tiny hits of relief that keep people calm while they sink. That's the quiet addiction, not to spending, but to survival. And that's what the American credit system really reveals: a nation addicted not to luxury, but to the illusion of control. Credit cards were supposed to represent freedom, the ability to buy what you want, when you want. But somewhere along the way, that freedom became another form of control. Because in America, freedom isn't about owning things anymore, it's about owing things. Every swipe, every loan, every statement due is a quiet reminder that the system doesn't run on independence. It runs on interest. Credit isn't a doorway to opportunity, it's a leash disguised as convenience. And yet it feels good, that's what makes it work. Credit lets people dream a little bigger, live a little better, even when they can't afford to. It creates the illusion of progress, a borrowed version of the American dream. But when the bill comes, reality hits. That dream was rented, not earned. What's worse is how normalized it's become. Entire generations are born into debt before they even start working: student loans, car payments, credit cards waiting in the mail. Financial anxiety has replaced financial freedom, but it's been rebranded as modern living. Still, there's something deeply human about it, this endless hope that things will get better. Americans don't swipe because they're reckless. They swipe because they're trying to stay afloat in a system that punishes stillness. And maybe that's the final irony: the credit system doesn't just measure trust, it creates it. It keeps people tied to the system, believing, borrowing, paying, all under the illusion of choice. Because in America, you don't need chains to keep people controlled. You just need debt that feels like freedom.